They didn't privatize or sell off the oil fields because democracy reigned. No, remember, I was wondering what happened. What force is more powerful than Gopher Nose Twist and his corporate roster? Who is more powerful? And then, after 2 years, I gotta tell you, 2 years of grueling research by the team, we got something 323 pages long. The plan that was put in effect, that they denied in writing over and over again, didn't exist. And this was a page from it. I smell Baker. Baker. And not Baker like in Bake Your Muffin Baker. Morning muffin. James Baker. James, in fact, in particular, James Baker the Third. Now, the Third, in case you don't know who he is an attorney who is better known as the consigliere to the Bush family and the Republican Party. The guy boasted, in fact, in front of a BBC reporter, I'm the guy that fixed the election for George Bush in Florida. He was a lawyer for Bush v. Gore. He was kidding, of course. Senior counsel to Carlyle Group. Lawyer for ExxonMobil Corporation. And he's a lawyer in the big September 11th lawsuit. As you know, the victims, not the victims, because they can't sue anyone, but the families of the victims of September 11th have sued the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for funding Al-Qaeda. Because Osama and Zarqawi don't put this stuff on their credit cards, the money came from the Arabian Peninsula. So the kingdom was sued as an accomplice. And James Baker, of course, represents the Saudis against the families of the victims. And so therefore, and of course his main office is the center of our government, Houston. But he also has a satellite office at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. He actually has, James Baker represents the Saudi government, ExxonMobil. Carlyle Group has an office, not even Dick Cheney has an office at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's true. And I called the White House about this. They said, well, you know, in fact, sometimes he works at the president's desk in the Oval Office while the president plays on the rug. Okay, I made that last one up. He does have the office at the White House, right in the White House. And he's not just a person, he's an institute. The James Baker III Institute, where his operations, the big political operations are run. And it smelled like Baker, and indeed. So I talked to a few oil company guys who later, when I published some of this in Harper's, that you'll see in our map, in Harper's, I have to say, you know, they told me that this plan was crafted by James Baker's people in Houston, even though their name is not on it. It says, you know, U.S. State Department. Now, I should say they have denied, in all fairness, I should say they have denied telling me that this was crafted by Baker's people. And Baker's people denied telling me that they crafted it. And then, so Harper's, and they had lawyers and they were ready to sue Harper's Magazine. So Louis Lappin, the publisher, said, now, okay, which part of these audio tapes of Greg's are not you? We never heard from him again. I mentioned this on NPR yesterday, and they said, at NPR, we don't do that. I said, I know that. So this document, I actually probably shouldn't read it to you, because it said, I can't read it to you because it says contents confidential, should not be reproduced, distributed, or publicly released. I'll show it to you anyway. What is it that Baker III, his institute, Exxon, satellites, what is it that they wanted? The key to the whole thing was to create a system in Iraq, an oil company, a state oil company, and a state oil ministry. And this was enforced, by the way, by the CEO of Shell, who was sent in his own C-17 to Baghdad. I met him. The purpose was to enhance a government's, I meant Iraq government's, enhance the Iraq government's relationship with OPEC. Enhance the Iraq government's relationship with OPEC. What's that about? First of all, OPEC is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. It's otherwise known as the oil cartel. It's otherwise known in legal circles as a conspiracy against trade. It's a felony organization. It's a gang, a mob. If they did it in the United States, they'd be doing hard time on a chain gang. But there is an exception to U.S. law, which, by the way, has a provision in which U.S. law extends our antitrust reach, as does other nations' laws, because cartels to fix prices, that's what they do. That's what OPEC is, an organization for fixing prices by limiting the supply of oil. But there's an exception to the law, which is that if you wear a bathrobe and a crown, you're off the hook. But it is a violation of the law. If any American participates in any foreign cartel whatsoever, it's a violation of U.S. law, or takes actions which benefit that cartel against the interests of the United States. And so you notice this document is confidential. Now, am I saying that enhanced relationship with OPEC suggests that James Baker, who represents Exxon and Mobil Corporation, his institute, developing a plan for the United States military to occupy a nation to enhance the relationship with OPEC, is an illegal conspiracy against the public from his office at the White House? I don't want to suggest that. But the question is, how do you enhance OPEC? You know, you enhance your relationship with your wife by giving her flowers. You enhance your relationship with the Lord with prayer. Right? But how do you enhance a relationship with an oil cartel? The answer is you squeeze the supply of oil. You limit it to what OPEC quota has been set for that nation by Saudi Arabia. That's how it works. That's how you enhance your relationship. Now, why? Let me give you oil economics lesson number 1. You heard a study with Milton Friedman. Lots of international economics. And one thing I learned, real simple. The less oil, the higher the price. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, the less oil, the higher the price.